In our final chapter, we're going to do something that's going to create a little bit more of a regular result. So let's go ahead and get into our front view. And I'm going to create a disk facing in that direction, in the plus Z direction. And let's set up our display with a wireframe. All right. So let's make 6 rotation segments and 0 or just 1. And we want this pretty small. I'm going to say maybe 0.5. And let's zoom in. All right, and then the inner radius, let's say 0.4. Looking good. All right, so we're going to be making a bracelet. So let's make an ellipse that is approximately the size of our bracelet. And once again, in the view that we want. And let's turn it into ellipse. And let's see, let's try 6 in this direction. And looks like it's still not in the direction we want. No. There we go. And probably something like 1. All right, looking good. And now, to tell you the truth, this hex is actually looking a little bit big. So let's go in and we'll try maybe 2.5 here. And then this will just be 2, or 0.2 rather. All right, that's looking a little bit more like what we had in mind. All right, now let's add a cloner. Make our change the name of this to hex. And let's make a honeycomb grid. Let's make sure we're seeing it. Oh, and also it's probably super giant. Let's see. Which is the one we'll be seeing it in. Oh, geez, it's hiding here. There we go, there we go. Okay, so let's just grab this and we'll pull it in. And saying there's, I'm sure there's one. Let's see, I think we might need, yeah, okay, there we go. We're looking at it in the wrong axis. No. No. God, what's Z? What's Z? There we go. That's what we want. And then we're just gonna, whoops, find that point for the middle part. There we go. There it is, hiding down there. Pull that down and squish them together. All right, now let's go back to our front view. And you can see still we're pretty big, because this, the size of our ellipse, is really the size of what we want to be working with. So we really got to sort of bring it in here. All right, now it's going good. But we want to have no space in between the hexes. So now let me just show you. So we got the top and bottom ones are doing this. The ones from the side are doing the same thing. But now watch what these ones on the corners do. They're adding and taking away amounts of them. But first of all, let's pack them the way we want. And we want them so they're just about touching. And let's go in close so we can see what we're doing here. Looking good. We can get in pretty close. Yeah, overlapping a little bit or just touching right up to it is what we want. All right. So now let's go in here, and instead of form, we'll change it to circle. And now we just grab these corner ones, we just drag them out to the shape we want. Looking good. That's what we want. And now, since we're kind of missing a couple little edges here, I'm going to use a freeform deformer to get it a little bit tighter to our edges here. So let's add a null. So I hit Alt G to add that to a null, and then I'm going to add my deformer on top of this. But let me see. I think before this, I'm going to add a connect object, just to sort of weld all those pieces together. And let's make sure the weld tolerance is high. Oop, see, too much, it'll destroy it. Maybe 0.1. Let's see what that does. That's even too much. Let's try to add a 0 here. Looking good, just enough so it's welding these guys together. Like, see what happens there? See, just a little tiny bit of space. Looking good. All right. So now let's select our null and go up here and add a freeform deformer. I'm holding down Shift. So we'll put it where we want it, and it's looking super huge. Let's try fit to parent, and let's try if we temporarily put it on here and then also hit. Now it's fit to parent. Now we just go ahead, put it back on the null. All right. And it's a little bit tight. I'm going to just kind of make it a little bit bigger just so we're not clipping any of that. Here, let's turn this into 48. And 45. All right, what about this other one? We'll just turn to 11. Yeah, too much. Maybe 11 point something. 0.5. How's that? Well, way too much. I messed it up. Let's try again. This is our freeform deformer. And 11.5. Looking good. All right, and let's add a couple more points to this. And let's look in our 3D view, hitting S, and a little bit thinner than I would really like for this. So I'm just going to put 0.5 here. Just enough so it's actually enclosing that. And now let's adjust the number of control points. We do want that, and we want that. We don't want this middle one. There's no point in that. Okay, now let's work from the front here, and let's make sure that we've got enough control points. And I think that's probably fine. And maybe we'll, oops, this doesn't need. And that's probably good for that. All right, so let's go into points and choose our selection tool. Make sure this is disabled because we want to be able to select all the way through that, not just the front ones. All right, and now we'll just kind of go and select them and just sort of drag them up so they're a little closer to that spline there. And some areas maybe not quite so close. There we go. Just enough so we're kind of a good amount of space from it. All right, and what we can even do here is actually let me go backwards. I'm going to scale some of this stuff. I think that will give us a little bit better continuity. Yeah, that looks nice. And then here, maybe scaling down a little bit. Yeah, oops. I think the same thing here. Also scaling down just a little bit. And we can stretch it out a little bit. Oops, I'll probably just use this. Yeah, oops. I'm using spacebar to alternate between selection and plus, and I can just sort of drag to fit into that little corner there. And now we're kind of getting a little bit more organic sort of look to our flow here, rather than the very regular look that the cloner gives us. And I think that's looking nice. Hold on. Let's see. Right now, this could probably be a little bit bigger, I'm thinking. A little closer. Yeah, looking nice. All right, and I'm going to sort of make this a little less obvious right now. All right, and so now we need a piece of trim. We're going to do this very similar in the method that we did with the corset. You know, we kind of make a swash of mesh, and then we'll make a trim, and then we'll weld it to it. So let's go ahead and make a plane, and this plane is going to be just have one side going one direction, and then 200 going the other direction. And let's see, we want our width to be about, let's see, I think, let's try 0.2. And this, we'll try it maybe 10 for now. And let's go ahead and give it a spline wrap modifier. And I'm holding down shift so it just pops right on there. And select the spline wrap. And now we're going to use this circle to drive that. And let's see what, oops, takes a little second to see it. Let's see what axis it wants. And okay, that's looking a little weird. Let's try Z. All right, looking nice. And you notice that we got this kind of straight little chunk going on here. That means our circle is not as highly defined as we would like. So let's first of all, let's go into uniform and bump that up to 10 or something. Looking good. See, even now, look at those corners. That's not enough. In fact, let's try some of the others. Let's try adaptive. Yeah, I think that's going to work a little bit better. Yeah. Looking at, and I think this needs to be a little thinner too. Let's change the name of this to trim. And let's see, what's our thickness here? Let's try 0.25. Oops, did I get that right? There we go. Oh, it was already pretty small. I think it needs to be just 0.1. There we go. I think that's what we need. And even that is looking a little bit thick, but I think that's going to be all right. All right, and I still think this circle. Let's try and undo. Yeah, that circle still needs something. Let's crank up this or lower the angle on the adaptive. I think that will do. Maybe even just 1 is probably good. All right, let's look at our spline wrap. Yeah, that's looking a lot nicer now. Just nice and smooth with no jags or points. All right, now we're ready to start welding this together. So let's kind of look at just a couple of spots here where it's getting a little bit close. And let's make our freeform deformer visible again. And now at this point, I'm just going to be moving just single ones at a time, so I can make sure I have clearance here. And now see, some of these, they don't make it easy. There we go, something like that. All right. Bring that out just a little bit. All right. This is looking good, although I'll tell you the truth, that could be a little bit more. All right, now let's look at this. We got a little overlap in there. There we go. Same there. All right, looking nice. All right, let's check out our guy. All right, now we're starting ready to weld this together and build it up as we did our other ones. So let's start by kind of adapting these down to just plain mesh. So current state to object. All right, let's bring this down here. And then let's do the same thing with our cloner. And also say current state to object. And I'll just call that mesh. Or grid, maybe. Grid sounds better. All right, these are our two pieces now. I'm going to put everything else in a layer. Add to new layer. And we'll hide that layer for now. And also hide it in the manager. All right, now let's work with what we got here. Let's weld these guys together. And we don't need to be in a sub-object group for that. And let's see, connected objects, delete. We'll just call it bracelet. All right, now let's get to welding. And let's take a look at what we got here. Pretty similar to how we did the corset and some of these guys. Here, let's select this guy, and we got our pen, and we're just gonna so control and drag and weld, and I'll just do a couple, and then we'll go in and build up our cloth and freeform deformer, or I'm sorry, subdivision surface. All right, so let's check it out now. So let's add cloth surface. Oops, cloth surface. Make that a child of that, and let's just make sure we got a nice setting for it. All right, so let's see. Let's go back one. That's way too much. Oh, 0.1 of that. Doesn't look too bad. All right, and then we will add a subdivision surface. Now we can see some of our original welds from the connect were not quite enough. So I'm going to scrap this, and let's go back to our hidden layer. And I'm going to make another trim. State to object. All right, we got our trim. Now let's look at this connect object. I have to turn this up just a little bit. I'm going to add maybe like 2 there. Let's see, that might even be too much. Let's check it out. All right, I think that's fine. We're not getting it folding in on itself. All right, now let's current state to object. And let's see, where is our connect? Oh, let me redo that because that did with a few things. I really just want the null selected. All right, let's get rid of this thing. We don't need it. And okay, current state to object. And let's see. Okay, there's our connect, and let's bring this down here. And then now these are the things that we will be our bracelet. Let's remove them. Let's add them to a new layer, and let's go to our layer manager and hide orange, hide it from the manager, and let's work with just these things. All right, connect objects and delete, change it to bracelet. Excuse me. All right, now before we start welding it together, let's kind of put that that flow together. Got our cloth surface, and we got our subdivision. Let's adjust the cloth surface. Let's keep this off for now, and then just type it minus 0.1. And now we don't see any of that weird pinching anywhere with the unwelded areas. And now you notice with the subdivision at 0, we've got circles. If you turn subdivision on 1, or you go a little bit higher, probably 1 is really all you need. You get these kind of nice rounded off hexes. So I think I'm going to kind of leave that subdivision on there. I sort of like that. So let's go back into our original mesh. And for now, let's make our thickness. Okay, we have it at a negative value. Let's see, where's our bracelet here? Let's go onto the surface that our bracelet is. And let's look in our orthographic view. And let's start doing some welding. All right. So we got our poly pen. We're in edge mode. I'm just going to control drag. Control drag. And we'll just go through here. And we'll just keep welding these guys. And I'll spare you all the welding. I'll see you in just a second. All right, so now let's check it out. I've got all of the points where it's reaching the edge of that. Let's check it out. All right, mesh is looking nice. Let's check it out in the perspective view. All right, looking good. So now let's make it bracelet shaped. So let's go ahead and make another, or actually I'll just make a copy of our other ellipse here. Let's make all this stuff visible again. Make a copy of that. Then we will add this to our blue layer. There we go. I'll hide the orange one again. All right. So now let's make this on a different axis. There we go. And it's going to be thinner too. Probably, I don't know, like 3. Let's try 3. Maybe even less, I think. Like 2.5. All right. So let's go into our guy here. Select bracelet. Add a spline wrap. Hold down shift while you're doing it. And then let's add the circle in as the spline. Looking good, but it's just not bending the way we want. Let's go into our spline wrap and modify it a little bit. So we can just offset it. That's enough. And we need a little bit more space there. So there we go. Just kind of use that midline. Let's look from the top. Oops. It's a little bit easier to be precise that way. And it doesn't matter what combination of these sliders you're using to get what you want. Kind of use the grid, so you think there I could match it up a little bit. Looking good. All right. All right, and we're almost there. I think I'd like it to maybe pinch in a little bit. So now let's just add an additional modifier to it and make sure it's going on underneath this spline wrap. Let's just add a bulge modifier. That'll probably get us where we want. And let's see, is it doing it? Oh, it put it on our modifier. We just want it there and then underneath. Looking good. All right, and then fit parent. And let's see, I think it's not fitting us, our parent. Oh, I know what it is. We have to be in, let's add it to this, both these things to our blue. In fact, I'm going to add all of these things to our blue layer. There we go. All right, now what's going on with our bulge here? I think we got to find it here. 12, 13. Ah, that's what it is. It's fitting to our unmodified state. All right, and that is looking right. Let's see if our if it's in the right direction. Yeah, it is in exactly the right direction. All right, now we see what's going on. We got a little bit of pinching, just like a little bit of corset thing, but just that way it'll fit nicer. Because you don't want these to really bind on the skin. You want to have just a little bit of flexation to it. And now this is your chance to really shape it the way you want. Between a combination of how much bulge we're giving it in addition to the shape of this spline. See, like now maybe that might be a little bit thin in this direction. So I'm going to maybe give it a little 0.2 maybe. And let's give it a chance for our spline wrap to update. All right, now that's, I think we are there. I think that is actually looking pretty nice. Let's give this a little color here too, so it's a little easier to see. Looking nice, looking nice. And now this would be ready to print. And, you know, since we did everything to what would be a logical scale for a bracelet using these mechanical objects, this would be ready to send off to your 3D printer. All right, guys. Well, I hope this was fun and you're able to use some of those other modeling techniques. And we'll see you on the next series of tutorials.